1, 2, 3, 4. Well, our politicians have been on the H for the last 2 months. The hustings, I mean, not heroin. Although, like heroin, the election campaign can be very addictive, send you to sleep, and when things get really desperate, those on it will lie to your face just to get a fix. But it's not over yet, so let's not get too excited and start partying. How long we got to go, Mr. Chalkboard?
3 more days, Shaun. 3 more days.
Yes, 3 more days. So let's not go crazy, because a lot's riding on this result. The rest of the world looks to us to set a good example. The Brexit, for instance, entirely our fault. Both Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage were apparently very taken with our approach to immigration, picking and choosing who comes into the country based on their skills, as Britain picked and chose who came to Australia based on their skills back in 1788. Because the key to being a world-class country like us, I think, is to be isolationist but still be able to engage with other countries when it comes to trade. So I'd like to not be as mad as hell this show. I'd like to accentuate the positives in a calm and thoughtful and non-cynical way to help you, the idiot, make an informed and responsible decision on Saturday. First up, what's been our defining moment? Every election campaign has one. Somebody says something that will live forever in history. Something like this.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Well, the closest thing I could find to our JFK moment was this.
It is not courageous to scream from the coffee shop. It's courageous to get to as close to the centre of the table as possible.
Yes, it's a very rare gift to be able to give voice to what a whole nation is thinking. Actually, that was just one of a rich vein of memorable quotes that Barnaby severed during last week's National Press Club address, an address where he posted a very compelling case for his re-election as Deputy Prime Minister too.
We worked as well to remove the mining tax, because where you find coal and where you will find miners. More evidence that what we do to show that we're not philosophers, we're doers, and we put so much effort into it. Through phytosanitary controls, occupational work health and safety requirements, we are doing no more than what people have asked us of. Building the roads, building the dams, cutting the red tape. This idea that we haven't got investment land is just bumpkin.
Yes, complete bumpkin. One bit I did understand, though, was this.
The world is looking for protein. One of the greatest venues for the production of that protein. Here, our nation. And you can see it. If it walks, and if it's not human, somebody around the world wants to eat it.
CEO of the Live Animal Export Freedom Quality Niceness Board, Adele Computer, you see an opportunity here, don't you?
Yeah, for sure, Shaun. If it's true that people want to eat almost anything that walks, then this could open up a whole new trade in, for example, live ant exports.
Yes, which would be great news for all those people doing it tough on ant farms around the country, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Plus, of course, you eliminate the problems we've had with overseas abattoirs because they don't need them. All they need is a bit of sunlight and a magnifying glass.
And is Mr Joyce right in saying if it isn't human, do people not want to eat humans?
Well, I'm not sure about that, Shaun. We've been importing live humans into our country for decades.
Yeah, but we're not eating them, are we?
Well, we're still processing lots of them.
Thank you, Adele. Now, not that Barnaby's been spending his election campaign just writing himself into the history books and appealing to carnivores. He's also been a stern critic of Labor, promising to spend money that isn't there on things that aren't there.
Why don't they just go and promise an Eiffel Tower in every town? Because they don't have the money for that either.
No problem, though, apparently, in him finding the money to move the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority from Canberra to Armidale in Mr Joyce's electorate. Mad as Hell reporter Shemp Punk is in Armidale, and Shemp, while Mr Joyce has said that the public servants who work at the agency better get used to the idea, the move is opposed by the majority of workers at the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority, their unions and the agency's management and the National Farmers Federation, with one of the agency's workplace unions saying the move was pork barrelling, designed to bolster Mr Joyce's chances of re-election in his New England seat, where he's under pressure from independent Tony Windsor. And the authority's chief executive, Karina Arthey, saying it would be hard to rebuild the agency without the scientists, most of whom are refusing to leave the capital. In fact, Animal Medicines Australia Chief Executive Duncan Brebner told the ABC that he welcomed investment in regional areas but was worried about paralysis descending on the APVMA if highly trained specialists refuse to leave Canberra, which many of them are. Shemp is sadly unable to bring us any more detail on this story due to the tremor which you can see is affecting him. But Shemp, thanks for being there and all the best with the surgery for the tremor, which I understand you're undergoing tomorrow.
No, it's not surgery, it's a non-invasive procedure and it's not till next month.
A terribly frustrating disability there. We should probably sack him. But of course it's Bill Shorten who comes across as the most presidential of the candidates. He's certainly got a natural affinity with kids and he really knows how to connect with them.
We're not going to give the big corporate tax cuts.
Because it's important. It is important for politicians, even those without leadership ambitions, to show us that they're comfortable with children, to demonstrate that they're just like us. Plus, they also get to be seen in an informal environment, like they've taken a break from the campaign to do something more important. And on that point, a press conference early this evening from an unexpected quarter, a Mad as Hell camera was there and, more importantly, switched on.
Thank you for coming, everyone. The kids of Australia do not want to be part of the election campaign anymore. We do not endorse any party that we have been filmed with. And from now on, we do not want to be picked up, hugged, or kissed by people like Barnaby Joyce or Jenny Macklin. We are sick to the tummy of being exploited. We're too young and we don't understand politics. There's lots of grown-ups who don't understand politics either. So please just pick them up and kiss them instead. I will not take questions.
And that leads us very neatly into something that we're all very concerned about this election, other than our children, ourselves. Specifically, health and border security. Pedro Wilson and Syncopated Rhythms from the Libs and the Labs' respective campaign offices. Isn't it rather unseemly for two of the more major parties like yours to be trying to scare us into voting for you in these dying moments of the campaign?
Well, exactly, Shaun. People will die if the Libs get in because of what they'll do to Medicare.
That is bullshit, Rhythms, and you know it, Shaun. We are going to do no such thing.
Oh, they totally will, Shaun.
But the only problem this country will have with Medicare is if Labor get in and the system gets all clogged up with all those illegal refugee children wanting our free dental care.
Hang on, wait a minute now, both of you, all right? That's enough. I am not going to put up with the sort of bickering that goes on that thing that Lee Sales hosts. These people pay 8 cents a day for decent news coverage, and I will not have our job made harder.
Oh, Shaun, look, she's totally freaking me out. She had fangs.
As if.
Yeah, as if being the name of one of those refugees you'll no doubt let in.
All right, now, Pedro, the Libs claim that Labor are trying to scare the voters into thinking that you're going to privatise Medicare, when in fact all you claim to be doing is to rethink the process.
No! Look, Shaun, look!
What?
She had these Freddy Krueger knife gloves on. She was going to run them down a blackboard.
Were you?
No, he's lying.
I wasn't.
Shaun, it's the Libs who are trying to scare the electorate over our asylum seeker policy. Can I tell you a story?
Sure.
Bill Shorten and I met with a delegation from the UNHCR just last month. We have the meeting, and afterwards everyone wants to go out and grab a bite to eat, but I wasn't feeling that well, so I went back to the hotel. Anyway, I've got this dog, right, and he's under the bed, and the lights don't work in the room, so I decide to go to sleep. Anyway, I hear this dripping from the bathroom, and it really freaks me out. Drip, 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 drip. And the dog's obviously a bit nervous because it's a hotel and he's not home in his basket, so he keeps licking my hand from under the bed and I fall asleep. In the morning, I go to the bathroom and there on the wall, in blood, is the Liberal Party logo. And hanging from the curtain rail of the shower stall is what's left of our Medicare system.
Oh, Shaun, you're not going to let her get away with that, are you? Ask her about the refugees. Look, she's letting one in now. Look.
What are you talking about?
Look.
There's nothing there.
But I tell you, I saw it.
All right, go and sit in the corner. Go and sit in the corner. Well, you're going to keep interrupting. Sit there and behave yourself. Put your seatbelt on. Now relax and look out the window. But Pedro raises an interesting point. In the old days, when Tony Abbott was Prime Minister, not only were the jokes a lot easier, but Scott Morrison was Immigration Minister, and you knew where you stood with him on water matters, completely in the dark. Peter Dutton, on the other hand, can't seem to shut up about them, particularly this Vietnamese vessel which ventured into our territorial waters and got very close to our election date before it had to be turned back.
There were 21 people on board that vessel, including 11 adult males, 6 adult females, 3 male children and 1 female child.
Now, with ScoMo, the best you could hope for was a polite fuck off and a 4-star general. But Pidoo is a horse of an entirely different set of contrasting colours, despite observing just a week ago that people smugglers listened closely to what Australian politicians were saying. So, Vice Rear Cabin Boy in charge of border security, Sir Bobo Gargle, if loose lips launch ships, why Peter Dutton's loquacity?
Oh, Shaun, sorry, if I could just clarify what the Minister said in that clip.
Absolutely.
I can also reveal that the captain of the intercepted ship is a 44-year-old Nguyen Sang, a sailor of some 20 years' experience whose hobbies include mouse collecting, DAS modelling and that game where you kick a wicker ball over the net. The intercepted vessel is officially registered as the Cheeky Lotus, a 1978 Class 5 single-engine 30-horsepower Catch-'em Good trawler, painted in a deluxe Mega Seal aquamarine with a beige trim. The ocean upon which the Cheeky Lotus was buoyant is a mixture of water and dissolved salts, approximately 3.5% salinity.
Yes, you see, this goes to my point. Why the sudden propensity for detail?
Well, Shaun, on this very important matter, extra detail equals more airtime, and as your clinically insane chalkboard has pointed out, we still have 2 business days to fill.
What does the Defence Minister think about border protection being used as a political shuttlecock like this?
Well, Shaun, I've spoken to Maurice Payne.
And what did Maurice Payne say?
Well, she told me to Maurice the Cracker!
Hi, Shaun. Just won't be a few moments. The Kraken's just getting into his costume. Maybe a sec. Yeah, won't be long now. Just bringing them out now. And continuing in the spirit of the election campaign, an attack ad in an attempt to vanquish our opposition.
Who do you trust to provide sensible, responsible entertainment? The show where the star kisses another man in front of her dead husband? Or the stable, experienced political satire? Last time they were on air, they promised to entertain you. Instead, they made you cry. Don't risk another season of Asher Keddy talking to ghosts. On Wednesday nights, watch Shaun Micallefs talking to skeletons.
Written, spoken and authorised.
Now, of course, the other side to this scare campaign coin is just as two-faced. Just as the coalition of the willing to bung it on a bit about border protection are over-egging the opposition's pudding, on the question of privatising Medicare, I think anyone with half a brain can tell you that Labor is lying. Unfortunately, one of those people is in charge of putting the front page together at the Daily Telly. Chris Lorax, as the head of Appalling Puns at News Corps, you've outdone yourself. This time, Bill Nokia doesn't even make any sense.
Oh, well, it does because Bill's lying, Shaun. You see how his nose is growing there?
Yeah, but surely Bill and Pin don't sound the same, do they? Wouldn't Short and Nokia have been better? You know, because of the N.
Just a bit of fun, Shaun. Yeah. Doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah, but Bill Nokia.
We had to put something there.
Yeah, well, having nothing there would probably have been funnier. The reality is that the coalition cares desperately about our health. They're even providing a type of trip to the doctor advisor for those voters who can afford or aspire to be able to afford private health cover, categorising the policies available on the market as gold, silver or bronze. Or bronze. Health Minister spokesmodel Kaz Taunt, what are these three great-sounding categories?
Well, Shaun, gold class is canapes and champagne on arrival, limousine transfer to a private room at Star City Casino with complimentary $250 in gaming chips, 24-hour personalised attention from a team of specialists, and a no golden staff guarantee.
Excuse me, just one minute, right? If you're going to go with the whole idea of Bill being some sort of puppet, why not have the CFMEU or the TWU up there pulling the strings over him? Wouldn't that have actually made some sort of point? Sorry, Kaz, go on.
And well, silver is a mini quiche and a Yakult on arrival, then a service elevator to a shared ward with non-English speaking patients and a no golden staff guarantee.
We have to make these front pages every bloody day. It's bloody hard.
Ignore him. Please go on. It was very interesting.
Well, bronze is a 7-day wait on arrival before being moved into your own step on the fire stairs with treatment by cleaning staff and a golden staff guarantee.
Well, let's say I've got bronze class and I'm waiting in emergency, and ahead of me is a Russian guy with silver class cover. If he has a blood test and fails it, would he be disqualified, allowing me to be awarded the silver cover?
Absolutely.
Tell me, why is the government so keen to push private health cover if they're still committed to public health care? as Bill Shorten rightly and very amusingly says,
with friends like Mr Turnbull, Medicare sure doesn't need any enemies.
You see, that's actually funny. Why don't you try something like that? Another matter which has loomed large this campaign and which really should be looked at right now is the Inland Rail project. Now, as you can see, it's a pretty big commitment there. My worry is that if the project goes ahead and if this Palmer United candidate gets elected, he will put on a top hat and a cape and tie a young woman to the railway tracks. Actually, we haven't talked much about the Palmer United Party this election campaign, mainly because there's not much party to talk about. Over the last 3 years, their alignment with Ricky Muir has fallen away. Jackie Lambie left, then Glenn Lazarus. Clive, as you know, is not running this year, and now apparently
Clive Palmer's political party is preparing to wipe his name off its branding.
So Palmer is gone in name as well as his physical being, which sort of makes a nonsense of the United too, doesn't it? And I guess bringing people together is a little hopeful, given that it's just D.O. Wang. And bringing person together doesn't quite make any sense, does it? It's not even really a party anymore, is it? Anyway, good luck to them on Saturday. Now, 2 days out, and I'm very worried about one issue that hasn't been raised as yet, despite the fact that it triggered this whole election in the first place. The ABCC. Now, you all remember that, don't you? The Australian Building and Construction Commission. That's right. Very good. Anyway, I asked the news department here at RT to down tools on programs like Four Corners and Lateline and concentrate on finding someone who has said something about the ABCC. This is all we could find: the Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister, James McGrath.
ABCC sounds sometimes like an extra of Star Wars.
Does it, pop culture enthusiast Crane Girdle?
No, Shaun, no. It sounds like no name from a Star Wars galaxy that I'm familiar with. The protocol droids like the Cybot Galactica C-3PO and, of course, the much-loved R2-D2 and the more recent rollerbot BB-8 of The Force Awakens all have numbers in their names as well as letters. And technically, yes, these droids are not extras in that they are featured players in the narrative and not background artists. So if Mr. McGrath wants to pop culture reference science fiction movie robots, then he'd better look elsewhere.
So these aren't the droids he's looking for?
No, these aren't the droids he's looking for.
He can go about his business.
He can go about his business.
Still to come.
Still to come.
10 to 20,000 pounds.
Antiques Roadshow guest delighted by valuation of her kidney. And after too many officers left hanging, Victorian Police introduces mandatory high-five training. Now, like the story of Jonah and the whale, this campaign has thrown up something quite unusual. Something that I have not seen in my 25 years of pretending to report on elections. Arts policies. The one from the Greens was the most gobsmacking, to actually pay artists a living wage while their income is low, to help them save and plan for their retirement. quietly spokesperson for the Greens, Taffy Runway. It's an ambitious proposal, isn't it? But surely the flaw is that anyone can claim they're an artist, can't they? I mean, I painted this on the way to work. Does that make me an artist?
Well, obviously we'd have to take a look at it case by case, Shaun, consider the painting, listen to the music, read what's been written and make a judgment call from there.
All right, yes, but isn't all art subjective?
Not the bad art, Shaun. Bad art is objectively awful, but the scheme is designed to support good art made by proper, actual struggling artists.
Oh, excuse me. Garfield Delamore, you're a struggling artist?
I have that honour, Shaun, yeah.
And what is it that you do?
I guess you could say I'm a street artist. I frequent the humble boulevards and malls of our teeming metropolis, but no strutting peacock am I, Shaun. No audacious poser, no pretentious haravist. No, I am a mere living art installation thing, exploring the very dichotomy between the having and the not having within the interpersonal boundaries where a fluid fiscal transaction may take place.
So you ask strangers on the street for money. But Taffy Runway, what is art?
Well, it's not that.
Of course, Labor also announced an arts policy, and this was a really good one too, because it included $60 million to the ABC, which is great news because it means my documentary, Shaun Micallefs' Stairway to the French Riviera, can finally get bloody made. Cut to the ads.
He's China's most popular and outspoken artist, taking a stand on democracy and human rights abuses. That's Ai Weiwei Standing Up, Tuesday at 8.
Now, one thing we shouldn't forget is that this election is not only about electing a government, it's also a vote about whether or not we'll have to have another vote on an issue that I think we can all agree divides us together as one. And a nation divided is a burden shared by at least half of us. That's right, I'm talking about same-gender marriage. Now, I don't want to call it same-sex marriage or gay marriage because really it's got nothing to do with having sex or being gay, does it? There's nothing in the current marriage law that says that a man and a woman who get married have to be heterosexual or indeed have sex with each other in the way that God intended. Reverse cowgirl. Now, if the present government get back, they will have a mandate to leave it up to you in a plebiscite, maybe. If Labor get in, they'll decide for you. So it's a tough choice because only 1.2% of us are gay. And so most of us have no idea what we're talking about. The bulk of us have no skin in the game, if you'll pardon the expression. But it is something that those who it doesn't affect in the slightest can have an opinion about. That's why I was so pleased last week to hear from Scott Morrison, a man opposed to same-gender marriage because of his religious beliefs, who in response to Penny Wong's claim that a plebiscite would stoke homophobia and bigotry said,
I understand the concern Penny is raising. I know it from personal experience, having been exposed to that sort of hatred and bigotry for the views I've taken.
Yes, it is very easy to forget those who aren't in love with someone of the same gender in all of this. And as a heterosexual man married to a heterosexual woman, I too can really empathise with Scott's empathising, because I too know what it's like to know what something's like. He's received hate mail for his views. Penny's received hate mail for who she is. It's like comparing apples and oranges to an exactly identical set of apples and oranges. Well, mystery still surrounds the AFP-NBN raid on Labor's Stephen Conroy and a Labor staffer. But in tonight's exclusive report, Mad as Hell can reveal exactly who knew what and how and when and who and why. For legal reasons, we've had to protect the identity of all those involved.
It was here in Melbourne in June that 4 members of the Australian Federal Police raided the home of a staff member of Labor Shadow Minister Jason Clare. Jim Spriggs was one of the raiders. Why the underwear? So the question remains, who gave the order to remove the underwear? Mr. Walton, did you order the raids on the NBN late? Mr. Dates, when did you know that the AFP raids were going to take place? Everyone we approached from the government declined to appear in this report. But one thing's for certain, this matter won't be going away in a hurry.
The story they didn't want you to see. Well, not coming up because Chase's election desk is on... well, probably got some time. No, I've just wasted it. On in a minute. Pine delivers, but Xenophon home delivers. At last I can get to the airport in peace. And person standing behind John Howard proves his point.
It's often in these safe seats that people can sneak up on you.
And so as we prepare to go to the polls on Saturday, voters are now trying to work out who's lying, who's not, and which party's going to do the best for me. And I know that all of you will take my welfare into account. But it may help you to think of Australia as an airplane, all right, that's in trouble, in an emergency situation, and your family is on board. The coalition says, give all the oxygen and the life vests to the pilots, and the passengers can have any that's left over, because without the pilots, the passengers aren't going anywhere. Labor says give all the oxygen and life vests to the passengers because Labor hates pilots. The Greens say aeroplanes leave a massive carbon footprint, so what are you doing flying anyway? If you need oxygen, plant a tree. And Nick Xenophon says give the oxygen and the life vest to the pilots, the crew and the passengers so that no one dislikes him. Ultimately, though, it's important to remember this. Well, you can place faith in the material things will fail you. A hurricane triggered by a butterfly's wings, the spirit tours betray you. Everyone! Butterfly wings. Still, you never know. Maybe they'll surprise us, you know. My money's on the Western Bulldogs or the Warriors, assuming they're not playing each other. Oh, and don't forget to vote.